Fort Blox. A challenge of skill. A challenge of knowledge. A challenge of endurance. This is your final test. Do you have what it takes? It looks much worse than it is. Back in Pony Island once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one major challenge ahead of us, and then we are done with all but the overachiever flag, which is a fairly simple affair. So our final challenge here is Blocky's Revenge. And along the way, we must get to the achievement. It's quite logical, which is what we're going to be doing today. And then I will be introducing the premise of the challenge for Blocky's Revenge. So up in the upper left-hand corner, you can see Blocky's Revenge is the quest to solve the puzzles in Fort Blox. Precisely what we're going to do. Here's the gold farm. It could teleport back to the town and make this a much quicker journey, but I have apparently opted not to do that, and I will not second guess myself. Fort Blox, as we saw in the walk through video, or the walk around the island video, I guess, is near the town. There be the town. Bzz, 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 bzz. And here be the cave. Let's head inside. Actually, before we head inside, I am going to start Wireshark so we can capture some packets. Alright, Wireshark is a churnin'. Let's head inside and see what we're up against. Entering Fort Blox. A little bit of lag here. There we go. A little odd, but no harm done, it seems. Alright. There is a door. A door that must somehow be opened. I cannot open the door. I cannot destroy the door. With fire or with electricity. There's a device connected to the door. Let's see, here is a little box with a little dot on top here. There's a little box with a dot on top, and here is a little box with a dot on top, which tells me to press E to toggle. If I do so, well, nothing happens on this end, but note that the rail begins to glow on this end. And then activates this little box, which causes the door to open. Interesting, eh? I wonder what that's about. Perhaps it was just glitched, and that's why we saw no glowing on the first half of the rail there. Here we have a slightly more complex device. Again, a box at the end connected to a door, a rail between them. And then we have this little device here, right in between where these two rails join, and we have two buttons connected to the end as such. A little experimentation. If we press E to toggle this one, okay, this rail lights up, gets to the T junction here, and then no power. Let's click the other button. Click the other button, both rails light up, and we get a signal out to the door. So, For those of you playing at home, you probably now recognize what essentially we're looking at here. These are gates. We have inputs, we have output, and we must match the logic of the gate in order for there to be a high signal on the output side of the gate. In this case, we can even toggle these again. If I turn this off, door closes. If I turn this off, door closes. This one alone, not enough. This one alone, not enough. We have to have this one and this one on. So what kind of gate is this? An AND gate. Next challenge. Now that we know what we're dealing with, clearly these will mean nothing to me. We have 3 inputs, 3 rails connected to them. They connect to a junction, but this looks different than the other one. And there's another box inline, which looks an awful lot like the junction from the first room. Let's go back there and take a look. Remember this shape. Alright, back in the first room. Remarkably similar shape. So if the second room is an AND gate, and we have just one input here, what could this possibly represent? If I press this button again, the rail inverts, and now there's power running to this middle section, but none afterwards. If I press it again, this is a low signal. It reaches this component, and then it's a high signal. So that component in the middle is a NOT gate. If a low signal reaches a NOT gate, the output is 1. Abadoom, here we are again. So we know that this is a NOT gate, which means that if we want this to be a high signal, this needs to be a low signal. But what is this component here in the middle? We haven't seen that one yet. Okay. Well, let's experiment. We'll turn this one on. Alright, when we turn this one on, there's a low signal coming out of it, but a high signal over here gets flipped on. Unusual. If we turn this back off, well, there we go. It opened up. So, if we turn this back on, it is in the same state it was just a moment ago. If we turn this one on, okay, we get a high signal all the way through. Okay. So if any one of these rails is actually on, as such, the signal does not work. So this and this and this have to be off. Or we could say 1 or 2 or 3 is on, then we get a high signal. So this is an OR gate. It's confusing because the output is inverted by the NOT gate, but we need a gate that sends a signal in every case except for when all of the inputs are off. Another room. 3 more inputs. We have a slightly different shape here. This looks like our NOT gate, but there's this little extra dangly bit here off the end, and then we have another connection over here which is connected directly to our door. Okay, so this looks similar to the last room that sends a high signal when all of the rails are powered, making this an AND gate. We have components we haven't seen in between. There's actually, let's see, one here, and then there's this one and this one are the same as we saw in rooms 1 and 3. So we know that these are NOT gates. What's this one? Well, it's connected to 2 rails, so I got a pretty good idea of what it could be. But let's experiment and find out. So if we turn this one on, alright, this one didn't power on, but these 2 did. This one is on, and it reaches this NOT gate, which means there's no power coming out of it. It would have to be off for there to be power coming out. This one, which is actually, if we trace this back, is connected over here. So this input has 2 outputs. It goes to this here, and because there is a low signal hitting a NOT gate, it comes out as a high signal. Okay, that's actually good to a certain extent. I mean, we can easily invert this, right? The gate over here, however, with the two rails, we can see that this one does have power running to it. So this is a high signal. It reaches this component in the middle, and we have a high signal running out with two inputs, one low, one high. Okay, let's turn this one off and see what happens. Alright. So with both off, we get no signal out. Let's turn that back on, and let's turn this on. Okay, with both of them on, we get no signal. Okay, alright. Let's turn this off. Signal. So if both of them are off, or both of them are on, we get no signal. Or, sorry, if both of them are off, we get no signal. If one is on, or one or the other is on, I should say, we do get a signal. So both on, both off, no signal. One on, either one, signal. So what does that make that component? An exclusive OR or XOR gate. Alright, so this one, this rail here, can't be on, because if it is, then it triggers that gate, and it inverts our NOT gate. Okay, so this one here definitely has to be off. Still not open though, so if this is correct, these two are correct, then this one must be the one that's incorrect, and yeah, if we follow the rail here, high signal converts to low signal, comes back over here. Alright, so let's flip this off. There we go, we get our achievement, it's quite logical. So we have an AND gate here with all three inputs. And we come right on through. Boy, I tell you, Fort Blox is easy. These logic puzzles, they're nothing. Nothing. Let's go check out this last challenge. I'm sure our big brains will be able to solve. Obviously, we have a much bigger challenge here at the end. A huge room full of many inputs. How many inputs? Let's count them. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 32. 32 inputs. So we have 32 switches. Switches can be on, switches can be off. You could even say that a switch that's on is a 1, and a switch that's off is a 0. So we effectively have a 32-bit combination. It's going to take a little while to flip all these switches in different configurations in order to work out how it's supposed to be. There's even a little platform here. We can get a bird's eye view of the entire room. Here we go. So all 32 of those switches connected to all of these rails all along the way, each of them connected at various different points to junction gates with different logic. And all of them come all the way through to the end. So they all meet up right down here at the back. So here is the final junction where the multiple rails come together. They go to one rail. There's a NOT gate, as we saw before. Is this the... Yeah, it's a NOT gate, as we saw before. And here's our power rail, and a door, and a window, and just behind the window is the chest we're looking for. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I'll simply teleport into the room, no big deal. Fortunately, as we have seen before, you have to actually activate the chest before you can open it. So we can't actually just teleport into the room. Not going to do it for us. In summer 2021, first semester I ran game hacking, what I decided to do was to follow each rail, map it all out, use a program called Z3, to figure out the logic. And, it's doable. I can't remember exactly how long it took me. It was definitely not fast, and it was also definitely very boring. But I think it was a couple of days worth of trying, because it looks much more complicated than it actually is. All of these rails, they all go to one destination. There are relatively few logic gates. I know it looks like a lot, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot, but there's relatively few of them, but it is totally possible to just map them all out. There's 32 switches. Can't remember how many lines it took, how many gates there were, but it wasn't that bad. It was a couple of days, not a couple of days like solid working, but a couple of hours per day over the course of a week or so. And I was able to eventually get it, and I remember it wasn't after I was done. I remember remarking, "Oh, that could have been worse." Brute forcing. What I did in summer 2022 is I just crafted packets. So essentially, I wrote into my proxy a little bit of code to essentially randomly generate solutions, combinations of on and off switches at the very beginning, and I got it after 8 days, I think. I left it running for 8 days, and I think at some point it discovered a solution. I don't know exactly at what point in that 8 days, because I wasn't. I was only checking to see if it succeeded or not, but not exactly which combination caused it to succeed. I had to go back in the logs and replay some of them in order to figure it out. I had to match up timestamps. But that worked too. But this is a 32-bit combination, so the time it would take to brute force that to try every combination. 32 bits is a little over 4 billion possible combinations, right? And if we're trying one combination every second, well, then that's 4 billion seconds. Let's see what that would be. Alright, so to figure out how many possible combinations there could be, we know that there are 32 inputs. Feel free to count them yourself. Each input can have 2 states, off or on. 2 states. 32 inputs, so 2 to the 32nd power is 4,294,967,296. If we try 1 per second, we can divide that by 60 to convert to minutes. It's a lot of minutes. Divide that by 60 to convert to hours. It's a lot of hours. Divide that by 24 to convert to days. Okay, so divide by 365 to convert to years. Okay, 136.2 years. So you can see how astoundingly lucky I got. I can't recall exactly how many permutations that I attempted. It was 8 days. Let's clear this out. It was 8 days. That's 24 hours in a day. 60 minutes in an hour. 60 seconds. So, assuming I tried 1 per second, I tried over the course of 8 days 691,200 different combinations. I don't remember how long it was until I actually found it, but I tried that many. So I'm going to say, for this semester, that I am simply not going to rely on luck in that fashion, because I don't expect lightning to strike twice. I didn't actually expect it to strike once, to be honest with you. And I think if I had failed in summer 2022, my plan was probably to just go back to trying to use Z3 to solve this. So I suppose my advice to you students would be to attempt the same. And I know that Z3 as a project I don't think is still even around. So I am going to go and see if I can find another similar project. Barring that, I may write my own, and I will share a link to either that project or my code But if it's my own code, it will be abbreviated so that there is still plenty for you to solve. Not really looking forward to mapping these gates out again, but I suppose it is what it is. Okay, we got our work cut out for us. Time to go do some searching for a new project, and or start writing up some logic solving stuff. Yep, that's what we're gonna do.